12 News presents Those Who Serve Special, honoring the men and women of our armed forces. We have a powerful story about a Valley man and the hero father he was never able to meet. Coming up, how he was able to find peace and healing on a once-in-a-lifetime trip.
Plus, how a veteran is pulling himself out of homelessness while lifting others up.
And flying the friendly skies, how one Valley vet is taking flight physically and emotionally. But we want to start with an Army vet who was awarded the Purple Heart for his service and sacrifice.
We're learning how he overcame his life-threatening injuries and is now helping other veterans. Thanks so much for joining us for this 12 News special. I'm Caribe Devine.
I'm Mark Curtis. 12 News journalist Jonathan McCall introduces us to the combat veteran.
Staff Sergeant Brent Bretz is moving into his new home from Lennar Homes, a gift for his service from the nonprofit Helping a Hero.
I was primarily in the infantry, but I was also a sniper.
Bretz enlisted in the Army just before 9/11 and was sent to Iraq shortly after the 9/11 attacks.
A lot of times we would have line companies kind of walk through cities and we would bound from rooftop to rooftop, just kind of making sure that the pathways were clear for them to kind of do their patrols.
He saw combat throughout his time in Iraq. Then one morning in Mosul, his life would change forever when he was assigned to deliver a supply truck from one base to another.
They put me in the driver's seat and I was kind of driving it in the middle of a convoy, and then I ran over an improvised explosive device.
The truck destroyed, Bretz losing both of his legs and suffering a laundry list of other serious injuries. Luckily, he was able to recover and persevere despite losing his legs.
I do kind of push for my own independence, but I also like to kind of set the example for other veterans to let them know that what happened to them, regardless if it was, like the mental side of things or the spiritual side of things or the physical side of things, that they have the ability to push through those battles.
Awarded the Purple Heart, he was honorably discharged in 2007. Now he's on a new mission, helping homeless veterans get the help they need through his nonprofit, Patriot Project Foundation.
So we're not out here trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just wanting to take programs that work, that we see functioning, and utilize those programs for our veterans here.
Once a combat soldier, Brett's now on a new mission to help others heal.
We should look out for each other. From a spiritual standpoint, we're all brothers and sisters. And if we're allowing some of our brothers and sisters to suffer, like what kind of human family are we?
The Maricopa Association of Governments estimates that hundreds of our veterans are unhoused and living on the streets. Right now, we're introducing you to a veteran who's pulling himself out of homelessness while helping to lift up others.
Hello, how are we doing today? Hey, hello. Thank you, sir.
When you see Paul Vogelli, it's not hard to smile.
Helping people, they say, how do you feel today? And they say, oh, and you can help them quick, just friendly.
4 days a week, he greets customers at Walmart.
How you doing, sir? God bless.
Paul served his country for over 2 decades in both the Army and Navy.
The patriotism, and also you just felt comfortable, like you were doing something.
After his service, he took care of his ailing mother, and then he suffered multiple strokes himself.
Let's be honest, we all make mistakes. I'm not good with money. And it's a combination of helping others before you help yourself. It's a combination of being too generous, and that is a flaw.
Paul says he was homeless for about a year, living out of his car in Surprise.
Well, the moment is you finally realize that you got to do something, and you're training your potential, and you just realize that no one's going to save you except yourself, and give it to God.
He's now receiving help through the Catholic charities Manna House, which helps homeless veterans rebuild their lives.
It gives you time to become a person again. It gives you time.
Hello, hola. This man, not yet. Have a good day. God bless.
Time Paul is using to help others while he pulls himself back up.
God bless. Have a good day.
He has a simple message for others who are struggling.
Don't give up. I know it's hard. You'll have obstacles thrown at you, and realize that it's on God's hand, and He's testing you. He wants to see what you're made of.
I'm hanging in there. God bless. Hello. Hola.
Now to the emotional story of a Valley man and the hero father he never got to meet. That hero father was Captain Charles Walling, who, like many Americans, lost his life in Vietnam. But now, years later, the scars of war and the collateral damage it causes have finally healed thanks to a unique program. There's an old expression about war. The true soldier fights not because he hates what's in front of him, but because he loves what's behind him. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Walling loved what was behind him. Arizona, a beautiful wife, a son whose birth he had missed, and another on the way, which is why he volunteered to fly what would be his 100th mission. It would be his ticket home, so this time he'd be there.
For him to take that flight with a navigator that he's never done so that he could be home for my birth, honestly, it was always kind of a burden that I kind of shouldered, like a sense of guilt.
For years, that guilt was crippling for Mike Walling, the son that Charles would never get to meet. On August 8th, 1966, on that volunteer mission, on his final flight of the day, Charles Walling was shot down near Saigon. Walling was considered missing in action and presumed dead. But there was always that lingering question: could he still be alive out there? It was a question that remained unanswered until December of 2011, when the Wallings got a call that remains had been found. There were bone fragments and a belt buckle, all positively identified. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Milton Walling was finally coming home. We were there when his remains were interred with full military honors in Arlington National Cemetery. You know, we thought that would be the end of this story, that the Wallings finally had some closure and life would go on. But then, one night late last year, Michael's phone rang. You get a call and you've got this opportunity to go to Vietnam. Was there any hesitation at all to go there, or was it just, yes, we're in?
Immediate, yes, we're in. And it was an opportunity that Dina and I never in our wildest, and my brother Jeff never in our wildest dreams thought we would have. So to have an opportunity to go and be where my father's crash site, and even more important to me, were his final moments, and experience that, really brought a connection that in our wildest dreams we never thought we'd ever have.
My heart was exploding. I was so happy for them and myself, because I've lived most of my life with this. He's could have been my dad too.
Say hello to the camera, everybody.
Hello, camera.
And so off they went. Mike, his wife Dina, and two other couples who had also lost loved ones in Vietnam.
Dad, it's you.
Maybe this would finally give him the closure he'd been missing, to visit the crash site where his father died, but more importantly, where he lived.
The visit to Cameron, which was incredibly important to us because that's where he was stationed, that's where he lived, and he was on the beach, and it was beautiful. And one thing that kept going through my mind was that I'm so fortunate, we are so fortunate, that my father got to spend his last days, hours, minutes in this amazing beach location before he hopped in his plane.
And at the crash site, Mike was finally able to have that conversation he'd waited a lifetime to have. When you had that quiet conversation with your dad, what did you say?
So without getting into, the exact words, it was really just a way to say, I love you, I'm sorry we never got to meet. Thank you for instilling in us the values that we are.
But this trip wasn't just for American families. It was part of the Two Sides Project, an organization that connects sons and daughters whose fathers died on opposite sides of the battlefield.
A toast to our Vietnamese friends.
Yes.
Thank you for making a dream come true.
The trip that Mike and Dina thought would be about closure turned out to be something much more powerful: understanding and acceptance that war is blind to the death and multi-generational damage it leaves behind.
I had the most relief with my anger was when we were meeting with the sons and daughters of the Vietnamese killed in action, and hearing them say the same things I felt, which were, all I wanted to ever do was hug my father and say, Dada, you know, or things like that. And knowing that they had almost those exact same emotions, you know, I really did feel love for those people.
Finding peace where there was once war, understanding where there was once hate, and healing for a heart that for so long was broken. I don't know if you noticed, but he had a phone with him all through his trip to Vietnam. And the reason was he was FaceTiming his brother, who was supposed to go on the trip, but unfortunately his brother's going through cancer treatments right now. So instead, he brought his brother along virtually through FaceTime, and he was able to see all of those things.
That's so special. There's just so many special moments in that story.
Such a great family.
And 12 News is honoring the courage, dedication, and sacrifice of those in our armed forces. And we want to share the stories of those veterans who are closest to you. To submit your stories for a chance to be featured, just go to 12news.com/thosewhoserve.
Still